All right. Hi, guys. It's your favorite pseudo-intellectual, Lord Hellespont V. I'm gonna present today on this wonderful book, 100 Fabulous Day Dates, 100 Fabulous Presidential Rolexes. And I'm coming to you live from the United States, where we are, in fact, celebrating today George Washington's birthday, which is also celebrated as the President's Day. And I know some articles have come out in the watch community, and I know Tim Wright did an earlier stream going through watches that different presidents wore. I'm not going to really go through a historical narrative like that. I had meant to present on this particular book, which is a catalog of the Italian dealer Davide Parmegiani, who operates out of Lugano, Switzerland. And I was turned onto it by our friend here, who was earlier in the chat at least, Night Diver. And he told us about the book during a weekend, and I didn't lose much time and wrote to the dealer, actually wrote to Davide Parmegiani on his website using a form on his website to order a copy of the book. And not that I didn't trust Night Diver, with all due respect, Night, but it just seemed incredible to me that even if these were watches from his stock, and even if this was actually a catalog, that someone out of Switzerland would send me a nicely produced book with all these striking visuals for free. And by free, I mean absolutely free, right? Not only does the book not carry a price tag, you're also not even charged for shipping. And I want to greet some of the people in the chat who were here earlier. Of course, Night Diver, Alexander, Pavel, everyone is welcome. So, and I just want to say something about what we were talking about earlier in my first stream of the day, about how certain watch dealers inspire more trust than others, right? And in this age of social media, it's perhaps all the more difficult to peek behind the scenes and try to really gauge the character of all these different kinds of watch dealers online. And sometimes we just throw up our hands and stop worrying about it, right? We don't deal with them at all. A lot of us still long for the days where you could actually go to an authorized dealer and get a watch that you wanted, either on the spot or at least after a few months wait. That's really not possible for most of us at this point, even if some of us are not and were never interested in contemporary watches. That could have been a luxury to have. So a lot of us do depend on secondary sellers and on the secondary market, on the vintage market or the gray market dealers for our watch purchases. And it is becoming increasingly more difficult to really buy the seller, right? Which is what most people advise us to. And here you have someone who is a gentleman in every sense of the word, who does clearly have old world manners, and who actually responds to you, even if it's just a simple inquiry, even if you don't necessarily approach this person with a clear intention to buy this watch here or that particular model there. He still wants to treat you right. He still wants to offer you options. He still wants to show you the best examples that he has so you can make your own informed decision, right? And an informed customer and knowledgeable customer is someone that actually honest, authentic sellers would prefer, would like, because it not only inspires them to do better, it not only inspires them to find better examples of watches, to provide better service for their customers, it also justifies them in very transparent ways how to really make the case for asking certain kinds of premium, right? And I need to put this out there. A lot of these recognized Italian watch dealers in 21st century, in year 2022, are absolutely asking for top dollar, right? And they need to do something. They need to provide a kind of service that's unmatched to be able to justify that kind of price. It doesn't simply cut it to provide full sets. So they're offering added value that we were talking about earlier, right? And part of that added value is presentation. You have to present yourself a certain way, and you have to present your product a certain way. And you can't blame most of us here who are just not easily impressed with some of the social media smokescreen tactics that the new age of gray market dealers seem to utilize. Archive of Sorts, very nice to see you in this chat. It's an honor to have you around. So, perhaps I'm easily impressed, but I was impressed in this instance by the swiftness of communication, by the fact that someone an ocean away cared about me as a potential customer to invest time and money into me, into this potential future transaction, that they were ready to share with me this well-produced book. This book, of course, it's not a reference book by any stretch of imagination. It's basically one by one presentation of models, of examples that Signor Parmegiani had in his stock over time. They do have details of those models listed, and I will share with you some of the more interesting examples, just so we can go through the historical progression of the model as well. But at the end of the day, this book can only educate you if you have a certain basis already, and if you would like to see some of the interesting examples of what came out of the Rolex factory as a configuration at a given point in time, right? For example, you have here a 6-digit reference that I randomly came across, right? And it is, so it's relatively contemporary, but not contemporary enough that it's produced right now. And as you see, it has that particular shade of blue that is usually associated with a certain jewelers that has been recently integrated into the giant conglomerate LVMH, Tiffany and Co. And you see it has a smooth bezel, and it has this particular dial configuration with encrusted diamonds. And it's a pretty unique piece, which I'm sure commands a certain premium. But you can see it here for your edification. And you can also see what kind of box it came with, what kind of tags, the warranty card, of course. So you have a sense of what it means to own a watch like this as a full set. Which means what? When you see it elsewhere, and someone is trying to sell something to you that's pieced together, you know what to look for. You know what's missing. You know what doesn't belong. You know what can or cannot come with this watch, right? This watch, for example, even though it is a Day-Date, it's unique not only in terms of its dial color and bezel configuration, but also because it comes on a full gold oyster bracelet, right? It doesn't come on a presidential bracelet, because that's not always the case, right? When it comes to Rolex, there are rules, but there are always exceptions to those rules. So there are Day-Dates that come originally on an oyster bracelet. There are Day-Dates that come originally on leather bands with matching tang buckles in the same material. And of course, there were Day-Dates at the beginnings of their production that came on gold Jubilee bracelets, right? Just like this one right here. And this is a 4-digit reference, just to see very clearly. And you have, of course, the presentation in the box there, and the details, including the reference number, right? It's a 6510 in pink gold. You have the date in red, and it has an engine-turned bezel rather than a fluted bezel or a smooth bezel, right? So there are all these small details that add up to making a very unique watch. Of course, it has the so-called alpha hands, right? Unlike the more recent baton hands, right? Almost leaf-shaped, but kind of cutting short by where they connect on the dial. So that particular shape is called alpha. Or you have an example here in white gold from the 60s, a reference 1802. It has a black lacquered dial that has aged to this maroon shade. It has these beautifully polished sword hands. And the index markers are quite distinct, especially at 6 and 9 o'clock, right? Resembling those so-called white boy markers that would grace the dials of so many other models, especially Datejusts. And once again, it has that smooth bezel, right? Rather than engine turned or fluted or otherwise decorated. And here you have something that's a little more conventional, yet also distinct, right? The 6511 from the 50s. It's white gold again, right? With sword hands. You can see here presented in its box. And here you see it on a full oyster bracelet, right? A champagne dial that we very much associate with this model, with the Day-Dates, but usually in the way it combines with yellow gold. Here you have, again, a few different quirks that create a very unusual presidential watch that is actually on a white gold oyster bracelet with that riveted design that was very much characteristic of Rolex for the 50s and for a good part of the 60s as well. Right, you have at the very beginning of the book, you have these beautiful vintage ads for the Day-Date that are combined together in a collage. And in fact, the very first one reminds us that this model has been iconically associated with presidents, people in leadership positions, and captains of the industry, so to speak. But there's something about it that made it somehow be constantly called the president's watch, even though American presidents, at least, have worn it with a very, with a lessening frequency, so to speak. And I think you can find any kind of watch at this point in time that presidents have worn that would be much more common than a Rolex Day-Date or any luxury watch for that matter. But somehow this stuck. This is a very interesting example that I had never seen on any Rolex watch before. And you have an incredibly sporty look. Again, in full rose gold, including the bracelet. And you have a dial, a guilloche dial, that is very reminiscent of the tapisserie dial that is associated with Audemars Piguet Royal Oak. But here you have a pink gold Rolex President from the 50s that has that dial in a striking shade of white with a full riveted gold bracelet that gives the watch a very unique look, right? Not the old man's watch that we visualize or imagine it to be once every so often. Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful dial, right, Jay? And Night Diver, he's here with us. I hope that you enjoyed the book as much as I have. It's been a prized possession of mine for years now. Thank you again for turning us on to this book. Jay, I had no idea, right? I just thought this was a fancy book you found on some of your travels or something. I really did not realize that it was Parmegiani's catalog, and I'm very happy to have come across this book and to have in this way also really learned more about Parmegiani as a dealer. Look, for example, another very, very different example. This is an 1803, right? This is a 4-digit Day-Date. But I've never seen a bracelet like this, right? The OG Arabic numerals and the Arabic day disc is unique enough. The date disc also is in Arabic, in addition to the applied numerals, of course. But you also have a textured link bracelet that doesn't look like anything else that I've seen on this model or on any Rolex model for that matter. And you have in this book a resource that helps you locate a watch like this, that helps you think about the watch like this, and that helps you learn. If I saw this watch before seeing it in this book, I'll probably think that it's a fake. I'd probably think that it's it's not Rolex, it's not original, but you have a high resolution picture here that helps you examine it in some way. And it's a very compelling and different example. And I'm not sure if I could convey you the texture of that dial, because once again, it's a dial that's made with the guilloche technique, but it's so different from anything else that I've seen in Rolex that you will have to really see for yourself. And on that note, of course, all of you should check out Davide Parmegiani's website, where you can still order this book for free. Maybe not for too long, because we have been harping about this book very often now with Night Diver's help. So soon enough, I think they will be fed up with the requests and start perhaps charging for this book like they do for the Daytona book. But until then, take advantage of this. Just go and ask for it. Trust me, it's not like a dealer catalog. It's going to be an educational process. You are going to learn quite a bit from it, and you are going to have fun in the meantime. There are, once more, a lot of examples with the so-called Stella dials from the 70s. Here's one on the presidential bracelet with a factory diamond dial and also a diamond bezel in a baby or powder blue with diamond studs for the hour markers, baguette diamonds on 6 o'clock, at 6 o'clock, and at 9 o'clock. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful piece. And a factory original Stella dial from these earlier periods really is something to be seen. And you kind of see also the inspiration of today's Oyster Perpetual series. Look, the very next example. It's the coral red, or coral pink, if you would like to call it. And this to me looks even more desirable, right? Because it has the factory diamond dial, but the more traditional and conservative fluted bezel. It still shines. It still stands out. Just enough flash that makes it an F-off watch that would meet the Archie luxury standard, but that still has somewhat of a gentlemanly restraint about it. And you see, of course, this one comes with the traditional leather presidential presentation box as well, which just makes that thing look even better. You can see that this particular example still had the sticker on. That's how the person wore it, and it's still there. Yeah, this was also from the 70s, where Stella dials were all the rage. And as you know, those dials are back now for the current Oyster Perpetuals series, which are selling like hotcakes and which are not even available in most authorized dealers because they're already sold. I have another great one here with like a salmon pink dial, right? White gold against a salmon pink dial, Italian day disc. Again, just a very, very beautiful example with an accompanying set of papers and the wooden presentation box. This is from the 90s, a much newer president, a 5-digit reference, 18239. We have one that my friend Marcelo would probably like. A Day-Date with a meteorite dial. Perhaps this is exactly what he needs in his collection. Perhaps this is a watch that Marcelo needs more than that platinum Daytona. Look at this beauty. It is another 5-digit, 18238, right, with the meteorite dial. decorated with the factory diamonds, studs all over, Italian day disc, and baguette diamonds at 6 o'clock and at 9 o'clock. And it seems to be in near perfect condition, right? Again, you see that the back remains stickered, that the papers and the box are presented with it as well as the tags I was gonna say, but I was just fooled by the stamps on the paper. And actually, this says it is in new old stock condition, right, from 1980s, 1990s, and actually it is from the Guido Mondani collection. So I really like this one. If you had to have one Day-Date in your collection, or if you want a one and done watch that will impress both the average person and the watch enthusiast, this may well be it. You will pay through your nose for it, but you will have a very unique example that probably not a second person would have. You remember I talked quite a bit about the oyster quartz Day-Date before, especially because this Bonham's auction house is slated to sell Michael Caine's personal presidential watch, his personal oyster quartz Day-Date, I think in about 2 months' time. And I know that these will just skyrocket in value. So if you have been looking for an oyster quartz Day-Date for whatever reason, don't waste your time. Find a good deal and just pull the trigger. And here you have an example from the 80s, of course, a 5-digit 1901 9. And look at this, right? The integrated bracelet that characterizes this unique look in full white gold with a great match, great matching silver dial, and just an execution of simplistic beauty, right? Most people would not know what to think of it when they see this watch, but those in the know would know, right? I know it's a quartz movement. I know it's not the easiest to service, but if you have something like this, if you come across something like this in a good deal that you would not want to miss, especially at this point in time, just get it. Just get it before it's too late. I think people will be beating their knees for missing the kind of deal that these oyster quartz Day-Dates were at this particular point in time. Yeah, chuck all that romanticism about mechanical watches and how beautiful they are. I have the same sentiment. But if you can set aside your money for something like this, don't miss it, because we are all going to regret it. I know that I'm going to regret it because I didn't get it in this particular round. But those of you who want a Day-Date in this point in time, take your chance and get one while you still can. This is another one with one of those famous wooden dials. I'm not an expert on wood, but I think this is burl wood in this particular case. Spanish day disc. Otherwise, as plain Jane as Rolex Day-Dates come. Yellow gold case, yellow gold presidential bracelet. But the tone and texture and depth of that dial is second to none. Another wooden dial. This time you see it on the box here. It almost blends into that presentation box, right, which is also wooden. And here you can see how beautiful that cigar brown color actually is, right? And I don't know how the watch originally came out of the factory, whether it had a bracelet or not, but it really, really goes well. It really plays beautifully with this alligator bracelet, right? Almost sporty, I would say, right? It may not be a sports watch, but it just looks like a very unique sports watch that would catch the eye, that would spark the imagination without being too loud. Just beautiful. Right, there are many, many other examples, of course. There's one here that has pavé diamonds and something that looks like the designs of Argyle sweaters on the dial with the help of those rubies, which decorate the bezel as well. It's a little too loud for my taste, and you can see that you can see the gem setting on the center links and on the lugs as well. But it's a beautiful piece to look at, and it really jumps out from the page. Whether you would want to wear it or not, and whether you would want to have something like this in your collection, that's another matter altogether. But this 18388, geometric diamond sapphires and rubies, pavé on the dial, carré ruby bezels, diamond logs, presidential bracelets, and original papers from the 90s. It's an 18388. And chaos, I completely agree. It's really over the top for me too. But I just wanted to show you some of the unique examples that this book has without spoiling the entire experience. This is the last thing I will show. You see, this one actually has that pyramid bezel with that special texture, which is really not very common at all, and which is something that you could only find on day dates. With that, I will just put the link in of that website for the dealer, for Davide Parmegiani, so that you can contact him yourself. Here, another spread and collage of different ads for the day date over the years. So you can order your own copy and flip through it yourself and learn more. And if you are ever in the market for a day date, you will at least know how to make a more informed decision, especially if you are eyeing an unusual example such as this, which is again that robin's egg blue that you might associate with Tiffany's. I think this is much more of a dead ringer than a lot of those different dial colors that the gray market dealers today are trying to pass off as Tiffany blue. Let me share that website. It's very straightforward, actually. Just the full name, davideparmegiani.ch, which is the country code, of course, for Switzerland. And when you are on the website, you can click on the 100 Fabulous Watches link. And the very first thing that pops up on the website, and let me just share that screen with you right here. right? I went to the page, I clicked the 100 Fabulous Watches link, and the very first one here is the 100 Fabulous Day Dates. You press order, you fill out your information, you write a nice, kind message, and you submit, and they get back in touch with you. And if you haven't shared your address here in the message, they will ask, or at least ask you to confirm your address, and then they will ship it out to you in no time. And you'll probably have it before the end of the week if you live in the US. If you live in Europe, maybe faster. Elsewhere in the world, you may be at the mercy of your local postal authority. And Night Diver says, punters, please be respectful to Mr. Davide when you request a book. He is the class act of the industry. I defer to your expertise, Night Diver. I do know, and I have had the experience, that he is a true gentleman in every sense of the word. And I trust that people will be kind and deferent when they are asking for something, especially if they're asking for free. There are a few examples that I would want to show from here that once again, I think gives us a peek into the origins of that hyped up dial color, the so-called Tiffany blue, right? You have a day date here from 1964 with an enamel dial, right? And look at that color there. Right? And the beautiful thing about this book is it's a true reference book, right? Some of the pictures are small, yes. And you might need a loop just to take in some of the details of a particular photo, but it has all the technical details that you would need, right? Of course, it says 18-karat gold case and band, blue enamel dial, 1964. It gives you the exact dimensions of the dial, 12.5 by 34.5 millimeter, 6 millimeter crown, right? You have all sorts of technical details with the presentation of a great number of dial variations, model variations, and just a wealth of other incidental information that would most certainly help you search and source the next your next watch purchase. Right, there are a lot of different presidential models presented here, and they are divided, of course, purely by reference number. Again, belying this book's origins as a true reference book, right? You have the 5-digit references, for example, here, 18238, and you would have a number of different examples, right, of the same reference with different dial colors, different dial configurations, different bezels, smooth, fluted, diamond, and it runs the whole gamut. So it's a great complement and great contrast from a book like Day-Date, because as Jay says, this is a missing art, right? You have someone like Davide Parmegiani, who is a businessman for sure, but he's also a curator in the sense that he has an entire collection and catalog that's put together according to his own tastes and preferences. And it's truly unique. You still learn a lot by observing those examples, by taking certain notes, by making certain mental references when you're looking for another example of what is possible, of what was ever available. And on the other hand, you have like a reference work, like something like this, and you can find the link in the description, where you can look at some of the more common dial variations. Basically, nothing is left out. You just have to flip to the right page with the right reference number, and you can go through dozens and dozens of different examples. And now you have a wide reference that is not curated according to anyone's taste, but accumulated over time to present you the best spread of information, where you know what is authentic, what is not authentic, and if it is authentic, what should I know about the watch to recognize it, whether it's in the manner of dial colors, the gem settings, the different kinds of bezels, the different kinds of bracelets that a watch came with, on and on and on. This book is an incredible reference. You can get it on Amazon, and I think it's currently discounted. So get it while you can. And again, everything is very transparent here. I have submitted an application to become an Amazon associate. That's one of my paths. That's one of my pathways towards monetization. It hasn't come through yet. So it truly depends on people clicking that link and making purchases. So I would appreciate it if you want to buy the book, do it through the link below. It would be a great help to me. In either case, again, the most and least you can do for me is to like, to subscribe to this channel, and to tell everyone else about it if you think they would be interested in the content, if you think they would learn from the content, if you think they would want to engage with the content. So I'm going to share the link here if anyone wants to jump on to talk a little bit about it or to ask specific questions. Of course, you are always welcome, even though it's absolutely not necessary, even though it's not obligatory at all. You're always welcome to make contributions. The Cash App is here. The PayPal address is down there in the description. It's basically my full name @gmail.com, Lord Hellespont, Roman numeral 5. So Lord Hellespont v@gmail.com. MLMJ, thanks for dropping by. Jay, thank you for being here. Chaos, thank you. Night Diver, thank you for recommending this book. Archive of Swords, thank you for being here, my friend. I really appreciate you. Pavel, thank you for being here. GB Vol, thank you. Wired Kings, thank you. Who else? I want to make sure that I don't miss anyone. Alexander from earlier, thank you. And yes, this is a book, once again, that we all want our friend Saad, who is resident in Pakistan, to get. Hopefully he will receive his copy soon. I think he has already ordered it. But he is someone who has a number of day dates in his collection, and for any number of day dates he also has at least 2 extra dials that would fit that particular model, and that give him even more options and more colors in his collection. So it's really a beautiful model, and really distinguished itself over the years for having the most outrageous kind of options and configurations in the Rolex catalog, right? Because it was the jewel on Rolex's crown. I'm sorry that I'm resorting to this cliche, because it was that most desirable model, because it sat at the apex. it was also the kind of model that you could more or less get in any configuration that you would like. So all these different bracelet choices, or the opportunity to get it simply on a leather strap, let's say on an alligator strap with tang buckle in the matching metal, that was always an option. The quirkiest dial options with different kinds of original gem setting, those were reserved for the day dates. The finishes applied to bracelets, whether it was the Florentine, bark, gem setting, pyramid, all kinds of different options, those were only for the day date. And nowadays, it seems things have changed a little bit, and maybe Daytona is the new ultimate Rolex model. Maybe Night Diver can enlighten us to some of these nuances and transformations. Night, my friend.
Good evening, Lord.
How are you doing?
Oh, everything's great.
Yeah,
Just got back from a nice dinner out with the family. Had some Chinese food.
beautiful. And
Uh,
I'm sure you had a much more pleasant experience than Archie.
oh, what happened with Art?
Oh, you missed that? You missed the part when he had a meltdown live? Talk.
Was this when he was at the Italian restaurant? Or
Apparently, this
the
was Chinese. I thought it was Chinese, but he
oh,
screamed at someone for about 15 minutes on the phone.
good. I mean, customer service is lost these days. So
Right, and that's how we started this conversation, right? The kind of unique customer service that Mr. Parmegiani provides. I don't know if there are any pyramid dials. I know Loose Tooth was asking that, but here's a pyramid bezel, Loose Tooth. Uh,
yes, I got made fun of that watch. Not this one particular, but a different one by Alex and Saad. They did not like the pyramid.
I know that I've seen one example that had pyramids on the center link. Um, I'm
Yes,
trying to see if it was from this book or from somewhere else.
it
Uh,
could be from that book. If not, there's a different one. And I recommend to you to maybe grab the other four that are available,
right, if I
and
can afford
maybe add those to your collection. I believe they're free as well. I mean, if not,
Oh, the catalogs, you mean the yearly catalogs?
yeah, you
Yeah.
know, he also has an insane vintage car collection.
Oh yeah, I didn't know that. Tell me more.
I wish he would do a book on his car collection. Classic Ferraris, Mercedes, Jaguars,
Well,
anything like that.
gotta spend the money he makes from selling these watches somehow. So I guess that's one way to go about it. Here's
Yeah,
a one
yeah.
with a pyramid bezel. Um,
I don't even know how I even found this gentleman, to be honest with you. Maybe through Instagram some way.
mhm.
But I found him and I sent him a couple of emails and, we got to talking back and forth. And, I told him that I really didn't have anything significant of collection. I was more interested in the scholarship end of things. And he thought that that was really great. He let me know that, not very many people are into so much the scholarship anymore.
Right.
It's very much hype pieces and things like this. And I mean, we can still love the Nautilus, the Aquanauts, and all these hype pieces.
Sure.
But I think we look at things like this from a different angle than most other people.
I think so because again, you could see that I wasn't all that much into some of the models that I'm showing on a personal level. You could see that I was more enthusiastic about one example and a little deflated about others. But still, each and every Day-Date that's presented in that book is of some interest to me because I think they're all
Okay.
beautiful in their own way and they're very unique. Um,
Right. Apparently, I'm being called the Italian Mike the Snake.
right?
I
That's not a
I'm not even Italian, but I mean, whatever. I'll take
bad
it.
reputation. That's not a bad reputation to have, honestly, to be called Italian anything.
I
It
guess.
usually beats the original.
But no, I just wanted to jump on and say, hey, you did a very more elegant way of explaining this than I ever could have. I think I showed this book to you guys originally like 2 weeks ago, and yeah, I mean, you presented
Honestly,
it way better than I ever could have.
no, I don't agree with that, Knight, at all. I think if it weren't for you, uh, first of all, most of us, including me, first and foremost, wouldn't know about this book at all. But more importantly, if you didn't share it with that enthusiasm, and if you weren't generous to turn on your camera and to flip through the pages with us, probably something like this would not even happen. So you are the
Right.
reason that video is here, and you are the reason that I made this particular presentation on President's Day. So I thank you.
Yeah, of course.
It's
Well,
really
I know
great.
we spoke earlier on Marcelo's stream, and I was kind of anticipating this review because I knew you would put the right words to it.
Thank you. You are very generous and kind, Knight. And I was wrong. It is an Italian restaurant apparently, not Chinese. It was Mike the Snake who mentioned Chinese.
Italian Mike the Snake.
And my friend Archive sent a super chat there saying like, this is the proper response to a salad tossed in the improper way. So
Yeah,
you
it
really
was
didn't like the salad.
it,
Um,
it was probably more of one of those Olive Garden salads. Very disappointing.
I know Olive Garden gets a bad name, but at least they're consistent, right? Consistently mediocre. At least you know what you're getting. Of course, I would rather go to an authentic Italian restaurant, but I would be
Right.
pissed too if they ruined my wife's birthday dinner, honestly. So I do sympathize with Archie. Um,
Yeah, that's no fun when you take the wife out and things don't go as you want.
exactly. I mean, you just had a beautiful experience, and that when things in fact click, it's always nice. It's always to have a nice dinner out with the family. Um, yeah, Archive repeats his chat here. This is the result of your salad being tossed improperly. I mean,
All
I
right.
don't have anything to add. It's just a beautiful way to put it. Pavel, thank you. Lord is quite professional with his presentation. Glad to get in before 150 subscribers. Again, thank you for your support. Uh, you were coming at me with a lot of negative shit. I didn't understand where you're coming from. I guess you were just being sarcastic. So, my apologies if I snapped. But, when you're just doing something to get things off your chest, it's sometimes difficult to deal with negativity. So I have my shortcomings.
Right.
Um, Loose Tooth says, "Have you ever looked at HQ Milton's website?" Yes, I
Yeah.
actually HQ Milton, Tropical Watches. Um, what are some of the other usual suspects? Knight, remind me. Um, that's
Um, HQ Milton, he's pretty low key compared to guys in California like Eric Koo. Eric
yeah.
Koo is massive.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, I really don't follow dealers like that. There's another one that in Hong Kong these guys called the Vintage Concept. These guys get crazy insane pieces too, vintage pieces.
And Loose Tooth has a good point there. One of the reasons that I try to keep up with some of those dealers, even if I'm not really interested in their stock sometimes, even if I find them overpriced at times, is because it is a good reference, right? HQ Milton actually keeps an entire archive for watches that they have sold. So again, you have a good reference point, right? You know how these watches are presented. You know what is usual, what is unusual. One thing I appreciate about HQ Milton is, again, they're very transparent, right? Uh, they if that bracelet didn't belong to the watch, they say, well, it comes on a bracelet that comes from 1990s, and this watch is like, let's say a 4-digit GMT, um, or a 4-digit sub, from 80s, but it comes on a 93 150 bracelet from 2002. So for anyone who presents their product like that with utmost transparency and with as much detail as they can share, I always appreciate. HQ Milton is like that, and it's good. It's good. Only a shady dealer would be scared from a well-informed customer.
Right.
That's
Well,
absolutely true.
well, I think that we get into murky waters here when we talk like things like this. So I'm not sure how you feel about sort of restoration on pieces.
Mhm.
I think as long as it's, let's say, the Submariner for an example, as long as the bezel is original, the dial's original, I don't think I would have any problem with like service crown, service bracelet, things like this. Um, I, I think that when you get into watches this age, I think you're going to be hard pressed to find full sets in beautiful condition.
Yeah, sorry, I was filling up water, so I didn't want it to sound like I was
Yeah,
doing something else. Um,
no, no worries.
I completely agree. Actually, when I was doing the unboxing of the Reverso and the GMT Master 2 earlier in the day, I was talking about something like this. Like, I was happy to find the full set, but I'm mostly absolutely satisfied. In fact, not mostly, but absolutely satisfied. Goodbye, Luz. Thanks for being here. Um, when I find a watch in good condition, even if it's just a watch head, if it's the original dial, if it's the original hands that are not doctored, that are not reloomed in a certain way, um, and if the case looks sharp, I'm satisfied. If on top of
Right.
that you have a period correct bracelet, you have the papers, I'm more than fine. I get more suspicious the more pieces are added to the puzzle, because like you said, Knight, when it comes to a certain period, it's very hard to find new old stock, everything in perfect condition, everything put so well together, especially if you go back to the 80s, 70s, 60s. So if the price seems too good to be true, you are probably being conned in some way or another, because genuine new old stock watches that are not put together by stuff that any one of us can find on eBay, those
Right.
command a very hefty premium.
I mean, vintage watches. The thought of it scares the shit out of me. I mean, it really does. It's you just never know. And I think I wouldn't go any further than probably early '90s and buying a vintage piece like Rolex.
But you won't be losing out, actually, if you ask me, Knight, because that's like the absolute sweet spot for most people, because even if they might not be as hefty as some of the contemporary Rolex watches, they're
Hmm.
still very robust. The bracelets are reliable. Um, there's still a lot of life left in those watches. You can still find them in uh, either honestly used or unmolested conditions, if not necessarily in new old stock and um, unpolished and full set conditions, but you can still find a lot of those too. And those will be for that reason, because a lot of people are one, lusting after contemporary Rolexes, right? If they can get them and if they like them, at some point they will want something like it or slightly different. 90s offer that exact recipe,
Mm-hmm.
especially late 90s with solid end links and perhaps with Luminova, right? Functional lume. That's a great sweet spot. Nice bracelet that doesn't stretch out too quickly and that's not jingly jangly, and a fully functional tool watch. Who wouldn't want that? And yeah, for people who are in the vintage hobby, a lot of the 4-digit references have already become unaffordable. So the next thing that we went to, the next thing I went to was a 5-digit GMT. So a lot
Right.
of enthusiasts will meet in the middle and those prices will keep rising. I think
Yeah.
if you want a 90s watch, save up your money wisely and try to be very, very fast in making that move. Um, Doc
Yeah.
said,
Yeah. Your money will be safe.
I
Definitely.
think so. In the 90s, I think so. HQ Milton, Doc BBC says, keeping their sold items up means I can keep kicking myself about watches I should have bought 5 or 10 years ago. That's too true. That's really true.
That's. I guess that's the takeaway right there. Is don't be stingy when buying these things.
Jay has a good point, but I think it's still they're still valuable. So he says HQ Milton, vintage concept, Grateful Time, tropical watches, etc. They're all good, but they're more used watch dealers. Parmegiani, Piva, Shear, Medam are more curators
And
of
don't forget about Alex Chiani.
Alex Ciani. I actually went to his place in Woodland Hills talking about collectors who have a wider range of interest um, for vintage items and for collectibles. This guy has each and every thing that can be related to Steve McQueen. Uh, he didn't show me on that occasion because it wasn't on the premises, but I think he actually has a 5512 that was once owned by Steve McQueen. Great guy as well, always
Is he
willing.
in Southern California?
In Woodland Hills, yeah,
I have no idea where that's. Sorry.
that's a very rich, fancy part of Southern California. Let's just put it like that.
Is he by appointment only?
It's near Calabasas? Um, yes, I think so. I think so.
Okay.
I used some roundabout connections to communicate with him and then visit him on a given day. So
And how's he? Is he? He's kind of. I mean, not to say that he's arrogant or anything, but he does kind of have a little bit of cockiness to him.
yes, but I don't think it's really. I think it's the kind of cockiness that, to my experience, characterizes a lot of professional Italian men. So he exudes a lot of well-earned confidence when he's talking about what he knows and what he knows well.
Right. Right.
But as a man, in a one-on-one conversation, when you are just talking about any bunch of things, he's
Yeah.
as approachable as they come. When it comes to vintage watches and you question a thing or two that he thinks he knows better, he will not take he will not take a step back, right?
Right. Of course.
If
Right.
you have that sort of professional confidence and
I
that can
mean,
that can come off as abrasive, that can rub you off the wrong way, but I think it comes from a good place for the most part.
right. Yeah. No. I mean, we're all men. We can talk to each other and give our opinions. Um. Yeah, yeah. I would love to go see his shop. I mean, I've seen the website a couple of times, and it's very impressive, almost as much as Davide.
Yeah, if look, Knight, if you ever are coming down to Southern California to Los Angeles, just drop me a line and I'll see if we can arrange something, and maybe we can go out there together
Yeah,
and have a cup of coffee with Signor Ciani.
yeah, that'd be great. That'd be amazing. In
It's
fact, I was just in Southern California in December,
too bad. Too bad.
and I was only there for a few days. You know, we had a family get together. My wife and her twin brother and his family were out there with us, and we just had a little bit of a Christmas getaway. So,
Next time.
absolutely.
But yeah, it would be great. Hopefully, we can actually see Gianni, but if not, we'll have a cup of coffee ourselves, or
Yeah,
grab
nonetheless, yeah, of course.
shoot some shit. Um,
Exactly. So, what's the plan the rest of the night, Lord?
for me, yeah, I will probably go back to Marcelo's stream,
Mm.
um, and we'll see how it goes. I just ate a very early dinner towards the end of Archie's stream, when I tuned out, so I still need to digest it a little bit. Maybe I'll go to the gym for an hour or so later at night.
Okay.
I have a gym in my building, so it's I sometimes go there in the late hours where no one else is there, so I can sweat like a pig without being self-conscious.
There you go. There you go, man.
How about you? What
Oh,
does the rest of the
I'm
night look like?
a little bit like you. I'm fighting to keep this Chinese food down. Probably just hang out. I have my kids sleeping on the couch next to me as I'm talking to you, so just hanging out.
How many kids do you have, Nine?
I have one
Okay, it's you have a son or daughter?
daughter.
Great,
Yep.
great. God bless, man.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, she's great. Too
Yeah,
much attitude, but she's still amazing.
yeah. I think they're supposed to be like that too. Especially at a certain age. I don't know if it's the terrible two or anything else that comes after that, but
Well, I told my wife, I was like, if she was anything like me, we're in trouble because I talked back. It was a real pain in the ass. So looks like I'm getting it.
listen, I mean, they're building their character. I'm sure it's not like I'm very experienced in this. I didn't have
Hey,
children of
hey,
my
I'm in the same boat with you, Lord. One day they're not there, and the next they are, and they're entrusted in your care, And you just roll with the punches, man. You go with it.
That's a good way to put it. But at least, yeah, you have. I'm guessing again. I don't know how old she is, but I'm guessing you have a few years. You're a few years ahead of me for sure.
Yeah, she's pretty young.
Man, thank you so much again for being part of the conversation and starting the conversation. In fact, for turning us into this book. Again, guys, go to davideparmegiani.ch. Here's the full name of the gentleman who produced this catalog. davideparmegiani.ch. Order your own copy. Um, Educate yourself, learn more, enjoy and take in these beautiful visuals. And who knows, maybe.
I also want to add, Lord, sorry.
No, no.
You can find him on Instagram at DAX2499.
Right. Let me post the link of the Instagram page as well, because
I
that's,
mean, his Instagram is more insane than the books.
of course.
The Instagram is amazing.
Okay, there are two in fact. So there's Davide Parmegiani official, and then there's
Right.
the
His will be DAX 24.99.
and then there is his personal account, which has watches and a lot of other stuff as well.
Yeah, he's a huge car guy, big car guy.
So you can see the official Instagram account and Mr. Parmegiani's personal Instagram account here, and both are full of interesting watches, and not only Rolexes either. So check it out. And if you are at that level of heavy hitters, maybe you might end up doing a deal with him one day, in which case, please let us know. Please share your acquisition and your experience with us, either here or on Marcelo Time. In either case, once again, I thank you all, and especially my friend Night Diver, who made
Lord,
this entire
good
thing
evening.
possible.
Good evening.
Take care, my man. And thank you to everyone who was part of the conversation in the chat. Um, Support the channel in any way you can. Upvote, that's for free. I thank you all. If you want to put in your contribution in some other ways, you know how. It's all in the description. And if you buy any of the books that I talk about from Amazon, from the links that I provide on this channel, I do benefit from that as well, although quite indirectly at this stage. It still helps. So
Yeah,
thank you.
do you have the link for the Rolex 3692?
I do. Yeah, I think it's in the description. Can
Okay,
you,
I'll go buy it right now then.
if you double check, I would appreciate that. Or let me see very quickly. If you double check, amateur hour here. But yes, I do have it.
Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to see if you had that affiliate link yet.
Well, not in this video. I have it in the previous video.
Okay, I'll go there then, and I'll follow it through there.
But
and
I will
purchase it.
add it. I will add it here as well, so you can. And I will do it right after I close this broadcast.
Amazing. All right, Lord.
You.
Good
Take
night.
care.
Peace.
Bye.